Going to call Tom Glass up here, and he'll introduce his wife, who is the main speaker today. Tom is vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Texas, and I'd like to give him a big welcome along with Kathie, his wife, but she has a lot of interesting things to say. So Tom, would you like to come up here?
Thank you. I'm here today with Kathie because we both love liberty, we love our Constitution, and we love our country. And even worse, those things are under assault, and if we don't take effective action, I'll start over. Kathie and I love liberty, we love our Constitution, and we love our country. And we believe that if we don't take effective action, because those things are under assault, we're going to lose it all. All right, so I got to eat this microphone. One of the things Kathie says is that the old saw, if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. She says that people who say that are optimists. If we keep doing what we've done, we're going to lose it all. And that's why we're out taking the action that we're taking. I want to introduce Kathie, and then I'm going to say a little bit more about why she's doing what she's doing, and then I'll let her up. Kathie Glass was born in Georgia to a World War II veteran who worked on a General Motors assembly line to earn his living. She's the niece of a man who served in the 82nd Airborne and lost his life during the Normandy invasion. And most of her political things, she remembers his sacrifice and knows that anything she does is going to be less than what he did for his country. She moved to Texas as soon as she could. She got here on 7/7 of 77, which she thought was a pretty lucky thing. And she's raised her family and had a very successful career as a trial attorney, primarily defending doctors and hospitals when they get sued. And now has been, in the last few years, been spending a lot of her time thinking about how she can help save our country and our liberty. One of the things, she is currently the Harris County Libertarian Party chair. She's also the chair of the political committee of the state committee, which helps recruit candidates and support local parties. And she ran for governor in 2010 on the Libertarian Party ticket against Rick Perry and Bill White. During that campaign, the main thing she did in terms of campaigning was she went around to organizations like this one, Concerned Citizens, they call themselves Tea Parties or 912ers or Patriots or all those different groups. And we found out that the rest of Texas shares the concerns that we have about the dire straits our country's in. And sadly, in the last 3 years, all of the problems we talked about back then have only gotten worse. We think that those problems stem from the fact that Washington is broken and the two-party system is hopelessly corrupt. Washington is broken, irretrievably so in the short term, in our opinion. Austin's not much better, but we think we have a chance of taking that back. And in fact, that's part of Kathie's solution, and that is by making Texas strong and free, we can push back on the feds and save America. Part of that solution comes by nullifying unconstitutional federal acts, standing up for the Constitution. She'll talk a little bit more about that. So I want to now turn it over to Kathie, and I hope you'll give Kathie Glass a warm welcome. Let's go. There's one other thing I want to say before I get off, and that is, if you like what we say, we've got a little sign-up sheet over here, or come up and give me a card. We also got some literature on the table over here, so we'd love to see you afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I usually use a wireless mic because I have this thing. I got my hands full here, and I talk with my hands, but we'll see how it goes here. Yes, I'm concerned about our country. I'm more than concerned. And I just sometimes scratch my head and say, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? We actually think we could lose our country. Well, it's because Washington's broken. It's because we did not insist, we did not demand that our Constitution be followed, particularly our 10th Amendment sovereignty. We let the feds do whatever they wanted to, and after doing so, we couldn't do anything about it. So when I say Washington is broken, I'm not talking just a little bit like a plumbing problem you could get fixed. I'm talking about something that is not fixable from within. Something that we've got to chart a new course. We've got to do something different. Because if we don't, we're going to lose everything. Everything that people have fought and died for over the years. I'll tell you a little bit about how I came, my journey to this point. Well, in 2010, I was thinking about what was going to happen to the country, and I decided that the way things were going, we were just about, I was going to outlive my country. And that hit me in the gut. I never thought that would happen. I knew there'd be a day of reckoning, but I thought, okay, that could be after I'm dead and gone. So I just thought about what I'm going to do. So we've got to find our line in the sand. We've got to find where we're going to fight, where we're going to stand, and what we're going to do, how we're going to push back, because giving up is not an option. So I thought, is this thing on? Tom? Technology. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. So anyway, I knew that we had to find a place to do this. We had to have a plan for Texas independence. So I looked around what was going to happen if we didn't do anything. So, well, if they want my liberty that much, they're going to have to come and take it. And so I ran for governor. If you didn't get that transition, why, that's a logical step. I'll go back. But I want to talk to you today about this plan. And basically it is, we got to work through politics. That's how they stole it from us, is the political. We can't abandon the political field. It has to be in Texas. And I'll explain why that, but I bet most of y'all just get that. And, okay, here's the hard part. I think it has to be in the Texas Libertarian Party, because the other system is corrupt. Well, when I ran for governor, I ran for governor. I ran for the governor. I ran after the governor because he wouldn't debate me. I carry this around with me everywhere because you never know when it's going to pop up. But I've still got this letter that I prepared to give him if I'd ever been in the same place. I was trying to do it here. Explained to him how he could secure the border himself, because he's in charge of the state guard, and that's how he should do it. So, and other things that a governor could do. While I was running for governor, sometimes people would say, are you going to run for president? I don't know why. I said, no, I want to be governor of Texas. Why would I accept a demotion? And who in his right mind, if he could be governor of the state of Texas, would want to abandon that post and go around trying to be president? I mean, who? Oh. Never mind. Well, I tell that little joke to make a point about how pivotal in this plan, my plan for Texas independence, the governor of Texas is. They say it's a weak position. Oh no. Oh no. In this plan, in this fight we are in, I say governor of Texas is the most important job on the face of the earth. And if you don't understand that, then you shouldn't hold the position. But this is why I say, this was my message in 2010, and it's what I'm still saying. that we are in a battle for America and that Texas is the battleground. But we're not battle ready. And why not? Because we have no leaders. We've got the ideas. We've got the information. We know what to do. But our elected leaders are not providing us with any leadership. So that's why I say political. That's why I say Texas. Because as Ronald Reagan told us, America is freedom's last stand. And to that I add, Texas is America's last stand. Because we have the Texas spirit. We're just different. We're unique. And America's unique in the annals of world history, and Texas is even more so. We're not giving up. We never give up. It's not in us. We're not that corrupt. We're not that bad off. We can take a stand here, get things together. This will be the anchor. Texas will be the anchor in this fight. And the anchor will hold, as the song goes. So, Ronald Reagan said, there is a point from which they may not advance, from which we will not retreat. He's not using the words, but he's talking about your line in the sand. I said, that's got to be Texas. Texas has got to be the place where they, the forces of tyranny, of this out-of-control federal government, where they can't advance anymore. They say water on the move seeks the path of least resistance. Well, if we make Texas strong, maybe they'll back off, maybe they'll go somewhere else, but it will stop them, it will break them. This is a man that's one of my heroes. He's Seward Avery. He was the chair of Montgomery Ward during World War II. I use this when I talk about nullification and what you can do. This concept of nullification. In World War II, they had wage and price controls, which were very tyrannical. They wanted to tell you everything, who you could hire, who you could pay. They had a wage and price board that made every decision for every businessman. And Seward Avery said, no, I'm not doing it. He bucked the system. He said, I'm not going to do it. And so they sent in a watcher, someone that sat in his office. And he said, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. They sent in marshals, they sent in the police, they sent in the military. And they said, you're going to have to leave your office. He said, I'm not leaving. And so they took him out, like this. But it became a national preoccupation. And his efforts broke that wage and price board. And he saved his company. And he saved, I think, what we had of capitalism left then. So this is an act of nullification. You can call it passive. But let's talk a little bit about what nullification is. And first, I want to tell you what it's not. Nullification is not secession. Now, I tell my secessionist friends that if you think you can more easily secede than return to constitutional government, you're dangerously wrong. But this is just demanding our 10th Amendment sovereignty. This is how we stand firm and enforce the Constitution as it was written, by resisting and interfering with unconstitutional acts. This is the way we stay Texans and Americans, as we were meant to be. So it's not secession. And also, it's not suing the federal government. A sovereign doesn't sue and ask for permission to act. I mean, what happens if you lose? Which we have. Obamacare. Are you going to give up on your sovereignty? What are you going to do then? If you permission denied, permission to be a sovereign, permission denied. Well, who asked you? Well, you did. You don't like the answer? No, I don't. So it's not suing. You can't sue for sovereignty. You don't litigate for liberty. Not when your 10th Amendment sovereignty and your Constitution is at stake. You just act like the sovereign you are. So that's what it is. It's simple in concept, but it's enormous in importance. And I cannot think of any other way we have a chance of a reasonable and peaceful resolution of this dilemma, where we save our liberty and our country by demanding the Constitution be respected. But to do this, we have to have leaders, because it doesn't happen. It starts out with a proclamation on behalf of the state that a certain act is unconstitutional, will not be followed in this state, will not allow you to enforce it, because it will invariably conflict and violate Texas state law, like the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, the parts that says the president can just make you disappear without a judge or a jury, any notice. I can't think of anything more un-American than that. But that's what you could say that is a violation of our Texas law. It's kidnapping. And it doesn't matter who does it or what permission they've gotten from someone. It's against the law. And that's why we need a governor that will enforce this. And we need leaders all the way down to your constitutional county sheriffs to stand up. Because if we just stand up and fight one by one by one, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned, we just can't compete. We're fodder for what the tyrannical federal government would do to us. But if we stand together with this proclamation that we are going to do this as Texans, as the entire state of Texas, then you have power pitted against power. And that's something that we haven't had yet. So that's the way nullification works. I don't say it's simple, although it could be. It could be that we just make a stand, and if people know that you're serious, you're going to back it up, they can back off. Hopefully that's what would happen. But you have to convey that you will not stand down. And if they push back on you, they'll be pushed back in return. Well, why Libertarian Party? Okay, this is the hardest part. Because I truly believe the two-party system is corrupt. It's corrupted by special interests. It's the means by which the rich and powerful get more rich and more powerful. That's true in Texas. It's certainly true in the federal, national level. Texas, we've had supermajorities for Republicans or conservatives for a long time. There hasn't been an elected statewide Democrat in 20 years. What has it gotten us? Well, you can make the case we'd be worse off otherwise, but I am past thinking that being pacified, well, it could be worse. When you think you're going to lose it all, what could be worse than that? And I'm convinced we can lose it all. And I'm convinced that you can send good people into the system, good people like David Simpson or Louis Gohmert. You can send them into that system. A lot of them will become corrupted. And I'm not talking about the kind of corruption where money changes hands. Although I'm sure that happens. No, I'm talking about just the corruption of the spirit, the corruption of your mindset, where you think the federal government really does have the right to do these things, or the state government, where you just don't think, and you don't act to limit government in any way. That's really the kind of corruption I'm thinking about. And it's deep in Austin. I mean, if you could go to Austin, I'm sure Joanne has told you about what goes on there, what she has seen. The way they treat people who buck the system, who try to do what they say, it's not just opposing them, it's calling them out, attacking them personally in the most vicious way. This is Republicans, what they do to other Republicans. So that's why I say I don't see anything coming out of this system. So, Libertarian Party, what do we got going for us? Well, we got the right ideas of liberty, and we're not corrupt. Just a few years ago, that might have sounded like a really lame thing to say. I'm not corrupt. It's like you're applying for a job. You say, what recommends you? I won't steal from you. Well, I kind of expected that. But it just goes to show how deeply entrenched the corruption is, that to say we're not corrupt is a big selling point. I had a good friend tell me, in response to my questions about why liberty-loving people who describe themselves as libertarians don't work within the Libertarian Party, and he gave me a list of things, of problems that our party faces. I was really glad to hear it. So I'll just go over that with you and share my responses. He said it's abortion, marriage, drugs, foreign policy, border, and you're weird. Okay, I said, all right, let me answer those. I'm pro-life. I got nominated for governor by 80% of the vote. That wasn't a big deal. It's not in our platform. We don't discuss it. So you can be pro-life and in the Texas Libertarian Party, and I don't think you have a problem. I never have. Marriage. I believe marriage is between a man and a woman, and government ought to stay out of it. And if you think the same way I do, you ought to think the government should stay out of it. I'm going to become much stronger in this belief in the last few years than I was before, because I don't see it as just a theoretical situation anymore, a hypothetical. I see what government can do to undermine our institutions if it has anything to do with it. So I say keep them out. Drugs? Yeah, I think we ought to legalize marijuana. And if you look at the police state, those laws are helping us to endure, you might want to think it too. I also say, I don't think that's the biggest problem that we face, and so I don't bring it up. No, the problems that are going to destroy our country, our liberty and our Constitution, and that people are united on and want to think, we need to unite on that first. And after we've saved our country, if I still have time left on this earth, then we can talk about those other things. Border, our party's for a secure border. A welcoming for immigration policy and a secure border. That's why I said secure the border with the Texas State Guard, because the governor could do that. That's right there in our platform. Foreign policy. Because I love America, I believe in a non-interventionist foreign policy, the traditional foreign policy that made America great. It all grows out of a love for the country. So what else again? Weird? Well, I don't think I'm weird. I don't think others are weird. But unfortunately, we named a party after a philosophy. So someone goes around saying, I'm a libertarian. He's never even been associated with our party, never helped build it. But if he says something wacky, then say, okay, I can't join that party because he's a libertarian. Okay, all right. So anyway, I've got this. I want to tell you a little story. Once upon a time, in a place called Texas, there was corruption throughout the land. The rulers were corrupt. The rulers came from one political party, even though there were other parties. All the power was in one party. And as we know, power corrupts. The people who didn't like this, they rose up. People were mostly women here who did the rising up. And they worked, and they created another party. They didn't create a new party, because it's already on the ballot. But they took a party that had a very bad reputation, very damaged. And they rebranded it, they reformed it, they worked it, and they made it into a powerhouse that it became the ruling party. Anybody know what party I'm talking about? The Republican Party. In the 1960s, or 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the Democratic Party ran everything, and they were corrupt. Everything happened in the Democratic primary. Republican had a bad name. They were the party of Reconstruction. They were the big government party of Washington. But they had to take that party, fix it, get it up to speed, and work it, and they did. But over time, it happened again. That party became corrupt too. It's now the major party. So I'm saying it's time for that sort of thing to happen again. This is not the first time we've had to go chart a new course, and it probably won't be the last. But if we can fix it for another 30 years, that'll be good enough for me. We'll leave our children something to do. That's my pitch. That's why I say we have to fix this. We have to work within the political system. We can't abandon it. It has to be Texas-based. And I say that's why I'm working within the Libertarian Party. And I ask people to consider helping me out on that. Ronald Reagan said, there's something going on in space and in time, and beyond space and time. Whether we like it or not, spells duty. You don't hear that word much anymore. It's sort of a 4-letter word nowadays. But it's true and it's real. And I do this because it's my duty and because there's no recourse. Because he said there's no escape. This fight has to be fought. And it has to be fought here and it has to be fought now. Because otherwise there'll be nothing worth living, nothing worth... We've got to know, and we do know, there's something worth fighting for, there's something worth dying for, and that's our liberty. So what is the price we will not pay? Texas. What is the cost too dear that we will not pay it? I'd say our guns in Texas. Where's the place from which we will not retreat? Texas. Our line in the sand is in the shape of the state of Texas. So this is my message to Texans and all Americans in the world, as they told it to us from the letter of the Alamo. Never surrender, never retreat. That's what the words I leave you with. There is no retreat, and there will be no surrender. Thank you very much.
I have a question from the audience. If anyone else has questions, if you'll write them down, we'll collect them. Do you believe in Jesus and the Constitution? If yes, if elected, will you use both?
Yes.
Are there any other questions?
Oh, come on. You got questions.
They're writing.
Okay.
Any further questions for Kathie? Go ahead.
How can we get the word out that Rick Perry is not going to stand strong for defensive borders? Because he takes millions of dollars from the home builders and from grocery store people. You know, it's really in his best interest to have a lax immigration policy.
That's why I try to emphasize that it was within his power. Using the Texas State Guard, not the National Guard that can be nationalized, but the State Guard, which is under the total control of the governor. He can talk all he wants to, but when you have it within your power, and I can guarantee if I'd been governor, that would have been secured within 6 months. Because it's not that hard to do. You just have to have a will. He obviously does not have the will. And that leopard is not going to change his spots.
I have a concern that a third party will dilute the conservative vote and hand an election to the liberals. Your view, please.
This is how we got in the shape we are in. By not voting what you want. By voting for the lesser of two evils, and it got you evil. And we ratcheted down to a different level every election cycle. The elected officials became more and more convinced that they didn't have to do anything, that you could do nothing to them. You weren't going to vote them out. Now, if Texas is overwhelmingly conservative, if having the Libertarian Party there is going to turn the state over to the liberals, then the Republicans are doing something very wrong. We're just a competition to make them more. I mean, I've heard people say, you're going to vote for someone you don't want, you're going to hold his feet to the fire. Got any feet fire holders here? I say there is not a fire hot enough that you could hold these people's feet to. So you got to do something. That's why I say we got to chart a new course, because doing that same thing over and over again is not just going to get us what we've always got, which is not acceptable to me. It's going to be the thing that causes us to lose everything we've got.
I have one more question. Do you know what percentage of young people in Texas lean toward the Libertarian Party?
Well, I'd say most of them. Of course, they'll not look around. They're not politically active. And our children are the same way. But I'm doing this for them, whether they're standing beside me or not. Someday they'll get it and be glad that I did. But the tendencies, naturally, they agree with it. It's just they're not political.
I'm not sure what this is asked. Okay, thank you. I was getting ready to say maybe a comment. Current illegals made legal and get benefits. They quit working. More illegals come in to replace them. And then I have this. There may only be a 20% chance we as conservatives can truly reform the Republican Party toward conservative/libertarian values. But unfortunately, the Libertarian Party has less than a 2% chance of being elected for national office anytime within the next 50 years. As a result, the more successful the Libertarian Party becomes, the more Republican votes are diluted, thus ensuring Democrats are permanently ensconced in authority with total power. What happens to our country then?
Well, I'm giving up on the national scene. I'll watch it to see what they're going to do to me next. But I'm giving up trying to affect it. And I reject the premise that we're going to turn things over to the liberals. It's like I said, if the Republican Party is unacceptable, and I think it is, then voting for something that is acceptable, they'll either reform their ways or they'll go the way of the Whigs, and I don't much care which. But we're not backing down. We can get more votes. We can be more active. And it is this mentality, though, that has kept us from being active, that people who really do believe in us, and if they got to pick which one they wanted to put in charge, a lot of them would pick us, but they said, no, we can't. You've been gamed out of this. It's a rigged game. Your Republican masters have sold you on this mentality that keeps you there on the Republican plantation, just like the liberals do that with the Democrats. Keep them on their plantation. Get off the plantation. Start thinking for yourselves, and we can turn this thing around. It's not that hard. It's really not.
What about the benefits for living here?
Okay, well, we believe in a welcoming immigration policy, but not any pathway to citizenship. And I say no, that's part of my platform, no taxpayer-funded services for non-citizens. Not schools, not anything. Come here, if you got a job, work, guest worker program, I'm for that. Then go home. If you want to become a citizen, there's ways to do that. Maybe it should be streamlined. Maybe it should be reformed. But there's a system for that.
Any other questions? Your last chance. Hearing none. Kathie, we want to thank you and time.